The richest criminals of all time, inflation adjusted. All the violence, blood, and pain aside, one thing is for sure, you make a lot of money when you're a criminal. For the people that think money is worth more than all this torment, this video may just be an inspiration. Jokes aside, we all know that criminals meet a terrifying end, and live most of their life in fear. However, they do manage to live an extravagant life, as long as they survive and stay out of prison, of course. In this video, we are going to talk about the richest criminals of all time, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Number 6. Kun Sa. Dubbed the worst enemy the world has, not many people talk about Kun Sa. His birth name was Sai Sa, and in his culture, Kun is an honorary title given to people with high respect, so you can only imagine what sort of influence Kun Sa had. He was a prominent drug smuggler and a warlord who fought against the government to establish his own independent territory, the Shan state. He controlled a literal army with over 8,000 personnel who were ready to sacrifice their lives for him. The locals called him Opium King, and he had relationships with the strongest politicians in Myanmar. It was the early 80s, and the heroin made by Kun Sa was 90% pure, which was the purest drug during that time. The drugs were then smuggled to Singapore, Macau, Thailand, and Hong Kong. Even the DEA had to step in to stop the growth of this fanatic drug lord. When you have as much influence, power, and fear as Kun Sa did, you know that you are rich as well. Kun Sa managed to convince the world that he quit and retired as a drug lord, and thanks to his connections with politicians, he was offered safety from international investigations. He died in 2007 and was worth well over $8 billion in today's money. Number 5. Susumu Ishii. Let me take you to the days of the good old Japanese Empire. Japan before the anime uwu phase, when the empire was a force to be reckoned with. However, Susumu Ishii was more like a smart investor than a monster. He made more than $8.7 billion as of today's money, which is a massive number, even by today's standards. Born in 1924, Susumu's early years were like any other Japanese kid back then. His family had a noodle shop, and no one would have guessed that he would grow up to be known as the gangster with the golden touch. During World War II, Japan carried out many suicide attacks, known as kamikaze, where the fighter planes were sent to do as much damage as they could deal to the enemy, with no intention of ever coming back. The pilots knew that they were going to lose their life on the mission, and Susumu Ishii was appointed for the same fate. However, he never got deployed, and eventually joined the infamous Inagawa Kai Yakuza gang. Throughout his time in the gang, he earned loyalty and respect, enough to make him the second kaicho in the gang, which is the second in command, like a godfather. He had a lot of influence and money, and owned a private golf club. To carry out his business, he made people buy a membership to the golf course, costing well over $200,000, and even went on to invest more in various hotels throughout the world. It is estimated that he spent over $700 million investing in different business ventures during the 1980s and 1990s. Number 4. Semyon Mogilevich. The FBI calls him the most powerful and dangerous gangster in the world. Born in 1946, Semyon is a Russian organized crime boss, with more than 250 members of his family still active in the criminal organization. Known as the boss of all bosses, Semyon has been involved in all sorts of criminal businesses, may it be extortion, prostitution, weapon trafficking, contract murders, or even drug trafficking. Nothing is too far for his reach. If we adjust his net worth according to inflation, we can say that he is worth over $10 billion, and with him being currently active, the figure may be even bigger. Hailing from Ukraine, he lives in Moscow right now, and he has a good relationship with people in power, especially Vladimir Putin. Currently, his legitimate business is called Rosukreenergo, which deals in natural gas. Ironically enough, the company is infamous for creating problems between Russia and Ukraine amidst the ongoing war. Number 3. El Chapo. Now this is a name that does not require any introduction. The former leader of Sinaloa Cartel, Joaquin Guzman, is infamous as the most notorious criminal in the world. He escaped prison not once, but twice, and each escape was grander than the other. If you want to know more about the current prison of El Chapo, check out the I button and subscribe to the Crime Cartel for the most entertaining crime videos. True crime, mafia, cartel, you name it, we got it. The FBI thinks El Chapo is almost as powerful and wealthy as Pablo Escobar if he was not caught. Born in 1957, El Chapo got into the drugs business because of his abusive father, and with pioneering strategies to the states, he gained recognition from the big kingpins in the 80s. He helped with logistics and made ways to traffic drugs into the United States and other countries. May it be cocaine, meth, heroin, or even marijuana, El Chapo sold it all. The feds believe El Chapo has smuggled more drugs into the states than anyone else, which justifies his net worth being more than $14 billion. With his family still active in the crime, it will be safe to say that it is only going up by the minute. Number 2. Amado Carrillo Fuentes. The top 3 in this list have worked together. This goes on to tell the influence Mexico had in the drug world during the 80s. Amado Carrillo Fuentes was the nephew of Guadalajara cartel's leader, Don Nito, who taught him the ins and outs of the cartel business. He was also born in Sinaloa, the same as El Chapo. Pretty sure that this helped them to make a good relationship. He was brought up in the cartel to oversee and adapt, and during that time, he worked with Pablo Escobar to smuggle drugs from Colombia to Mexico and throughout the world. He was given the title of El Señor de los Cielos, which means the Lord of the Skies. Why, you ask? Because Amado used a fleet of jets to transport the drugs. Isn't that insane? Hailing from the Guadalajara cartel, Amado assassinated Rafael Aguilar Guajardo to take over the Juarez cartel. This goes on to show the power he held. If we adjust his net worth to today's standards, Amado Carrillo Fuentes was worth well over $39 billion. Despite his lavish life, Amado had a painful death. He was undergoing plastic surgery to change his looks in order to escape from the feds. But due to some complications in this loosely documented event, Amado passed away in 1997. He was given a lavish funeral, and his family is still active in the business. Number 1. Pablo Escobar. The criminal responsible for making Colombia the murder capital of the world. And the world's richest man, Pablo Escobar, needs no introduction. He was deemed as a Robin Hood-like character and developed many houses and football fields throughout the country. He was worth well over $85 billion and made most of his fortune from his Medellin cartel, which was the biggest cocaine manufacturer and smuggler in the world. Born in Rio Negro, Colombia, Pablo Escobar joined the life of crime as a teenager. He started selling illegal cigarettes and fake lotteries. With time, he started stealing cars, and by the 1970s, he was working for other drug traffickers. He created a new route for drug trafficking, from Colombia to Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador, and it would eventually end up in the United States. This was the golden egg for Pablo because he went on to sell more than 80 tons of cocaine through shipments to the States. But his power was often contested by rival cartels, and threats from the FBI were increasing, so he decided to surrender in 1991, but on a few conditions. The first one was that he would live in a prison he built for himself, La Catedral, which, needless to say, was quite luxurious. Another condition was that he should not be extradited. This means that no other country, America, could bust Pablo Escobar. These conditions were promised by the president of Colombia himself. However, the promises were not met, and Pablo escaped from La Catedral the next year when he was supposed to be moved to another prison. This led to a nationwide manhunt until Pablo Escobar was killed in his hometown by the Colombian police in 1993. Fun fact, he had a massive funeral, and it was attended by more than 25,000 people. There are many unbelievable facts about Pablo Escobar. Leave your favorite facts in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe to Crime Cartel for more entertaining crime documentaries. While these are the criminals the world knows about, I am sure that there are bigger criminals with larger piles of cash that linger in the shadows. They must have so much power that they can silence any voice raised against them, and we might never even know about them, ever. The Japanese Mafia has a message for you. Click the recommended video right now to find out more. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.